Okay, shalom, wonderful lesson. This is a continuation of last lesson, but it is also a standalone lesson. It's called Tzipporah, Balak Ben Tzipor, which means bird. We'll find out why he's possibly called Balak Ben Tzipor. And the Bridegroom of Blood. Let's go and have a look at some really significant verses and some significant gematria. Just bring myself on board. So we've got this, Tzipporah, Bridegroom of the Blood. Bridegroom of Blood, and this is taken from Exodus 4:24. 4:24, by the way, is Moshiach Ben David, the number 424, that is. So maybe there's some significance in that, as we shall see. Now he was on the way in an inn that the Lord met him and brought him and sought to put him to death. So this is Moshe. So there is ambiguity, purposeful ambiguity in all these words. This is what certain commentaries point out. So ambiguity. Who is he? Is he the Lord? His son? Who? Even the angel of the Lord. In some commentary, in some texts such as Jubilees, it's not the Lord that met Moshe, it was the angel of the Lord. So now he was on the way, Bad Derech, so very significant, in an inn that the Lord met him and sought him to put him to death. So Tzipporah took a sharp stone and severed her son's foreskin and cast it to his feet. Ambiguity with who his feet is. And she said, "For you are a bridegroom of blood to me." So who's she speaking to? The Lord? Moshe? Metatron, or the angel of the Lord? As it's seen as it's written in Jubilees. You are a bridegroom of blood to me. So he released him. Then she said, a bridegroom of blood concerning the circumcision. So it's all highly mystical. Yesterday we showed who this is actually relating to in a mystical way. What's the secret hidden meaning of this Torah? It's very clear who that was pointing to in last lesson's teaching. We're going to have a look at this concept here, the bridegroom of blood. It's got some really powerful numbers that connect us to a very powerful and significant character, especially when we know that this verse here is 424, 424, and that's Moshiach Ben David. Let's see who this connects us to then. Balak Ben Tzipor. And that's why we had the image of it's actually an image of Horus. It's connected to the Egyptian god Horus, but we're going to read why that might be so and connected to this whole concept of Balak Ben Tzipor. So if we take the square ordinal of Balak Ben Tzipor and add the ordinal to it, it comes to 1868, which is exactly the same as the Mispar Gadol, regular and ordinal, added together, of bridegroom of blood. So let's just have a look at what's written about. You find this on Wikipedia, by the way. It says the Zohar, the basic text of the Kabbalah, offers a special interpretation to Balak being the son of Tzipor. In Hebrew, Tzipor means bird. So both Tzipporah and Ben Tzipor, it's just masculine, feminine for bird. According to the Torah, this was not the name of Balak's father, but rather referred to a magical metal bird made of copper mixed with silver, and its body is made of gold. Once the bird is made, it should be put during the day in a window facing the sun and during the night in a window facing the moon, while burning incense in front of it for 7 days and 7 nights. I put the bird as the bird of Horus because heavily associated with magic and protection and one thing and another, and this was obviously used by Balak for magical purposes. Okay, so that was it. And also there's the two eyes of Horus, one is silver and one is gold, so there is connections even that way. I mean, I can't say that it was the bird of Horus, but it's just connecting us to something that is actually part of our history, and that we've got evidence of these bird statues, if you like, and a potential to be connected to this kind of understanding and this kind of magic. All the major magic came out of Egypt. All the magic, the highest levels of magic were found in Egypt. So that's why you've got to make the connection with Egypt. And also connected to the sun of the moon. I think the silver eye of Horus was made from the moon by Thoth. You know, this is, I'm not an expert on these issues, but you know, it's all little interesting snippets of our history and the mythology behind that history. While burning incense in front of it for 7 days and 7 nights, thereupon the bird would start talking and foretelling of what is about to happen. Or only the most skilled of wizards could construct such a bird. Balak, the greatest wizard of his age, managed it. The bird was always sitting on Balak's shoulder and whispering in his ear, and therefore he was nicknamed Son of the Bird. The Zohar further recounts that the bird spoke true words of prophecy in Balak's ear and warned him not to set himself against the sons of Israel, and also foretold of the harsh punishment in store for himself and for the Moabites. Nevertheless, Balak persisted in his wrong way and was punished exactly as the bird foretold. So, like I say, you can go and look at that on Wikipedia. If you want to understand the whole image of Horus, the eye of Horus, and his association with the falcon and things like that, you know, you can have a look into that. But it's all very interesting. We've got to make these connections because the Torah makes connections between Yosef, for example, and Egypt. I mean, this even can be the reason why Tzipporah is named Tzipporah, because Yitro was a Midianite priest, and Yitro would have been a top magician. You know, it says about Yitro in the Midrash why he was considered so favourable in the eyes of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, because when he committed. You know, he was very committed to the pursuit of paganism, you know, to the absolute depths. He was searching so hard. He searched in absolute every single pagan religion and belief and magic possible. He went to the absolute degrees of it. And yet, as soon as he became aware of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh, he knew that was the only truth that he could dedicate his life to. So there's something very special about Yitro. And this is Yitro's daughter, is Tzipporah. Yitro was one of the counselors in the court of Pharaoh, his counselor to Pharaoh. And he fled because Pharaoh decreed the death of the Hebrew boys by being cast into the Nile, and he fled. Okay, so there's a connection between Yitro. Was Tzipporah named after Horus? You know, because of Yitro's connection to Egypt at the time, the court of Pharaoh, where all these images would have been so prevalent. He cannot unconsciously have named his daughter Tzipporah without connecting it to Horus. Oh, in some way, he can't have had that connection to his own daughter. So there's all these wonderful things, there's depth to it. We've got to try and explore and these associations. We're going to have a look at something really interesting now. Balak Ben Tzipor is actually the ancestor of Moshiach Ben David. Okay, through Ruth, he was a Moabite. There's a lot of ambiguity as to whether he was a Moabite or a Midianite. I want to just read some of the debates that Jewish people have concerning this, regarding the debates that have had in things like the Midrash and the Talmud. Everything has a lot of ambiguity. And this is one lesson we've got to learn. When it comes to things like anything in the Torah, there's always more than one way of looking at it. We've got to try and be as flexible and as fluid as we can to move between different perspectives and to gain some wisdom and insight from the different perspectives. Else the Torah becomes like a prison to us that we can't escape. We're just constricted by the letter of the law. The Spirit is able to move between these letters freely, you know, for the sake of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh to be revealed. So we'll see all this ambiguity, all this was he or wasn't he, and the fact that it's difficult to pin anything down in Torah. This is it, this is only it. It's like the fact that the letters have no vowels, so you can, interpret the Torah so many different ways, even that each word can have so many different meanings. And then you've got numerical meanings, and then you've got midrashic meanings. You've got first appearances, the exegesis connected to that. It's not meant to be rigid and static. It's really a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Waw, and we're not even meant to be able to pronounce it. It's more like a breath. It's supposedly every single vowels, all the vowels, so it makes it unpronounceable, because there's, it contains everything in it. It contains everything within that name. So you've got to understand, when we're looking at things and trying to heavily define anything, like Balak Ben Tzipor, for example, you're going to struggle, because he's remembered for such evil, yet King David is his ancestor, is his descendant. And even this number here, 110, is Moshiach Ben Yosef. Sorry, it's not. It's Yeshua HaMoshiach. It's the ordinal of Yeshua HaMoshiach. So there's a lot of connection there as well. Let's go and see how he's connected to King David. It's all interesting stuff. So, the bridegroom of blood. Was Tzipporah like Balak? Did she still have some of this Midianite influence that she would have been exposed to through being the daughter of Yitro? Did she have some of this power of this bird, to understand the complexity of the situation that was before her? Why did she know to circumcise her son when Moshe didn't? There's all kinds of things involved with this that you can actually explore. Let's go further. So this is some of the debates regarding the fact that Balak Ben Tzipor, even though we remember him for the one who wanted to curse Bnei Israel, he still went on to be the descendant, the ancestor of King David. David came from Balak Ben Tzipor. Let's go and have a look. And so these are just little snippets that I've picked up from the internet regarding this, things that I think are interesting, that help to just expand this whole episode in the Torah, this mysterious episode in the Torah. What is it really saying to us? It's something about the ultimate revelation of Moshiach Ben David. We saw in last lesson, it's obviously to do with Moshe, and something about Moshe. We saw how heavily connected in last lesson it was to the whole concept of Yeshua Sahapanim, and then in this lesson it's suddenly the final revelation of Moshiach Ben David. And the fact that this is another wonderful thing. The Torah, it's like when we looked at in last lesson about Tzipporah, there was a very positive interpretation, yet from a Samaritan point of view, that whole episode is not such, she's not seen in such a good light. She's seen as somebody who's not yet refined enough to go on the mission with Moshe, so she's sent away because of this episode. There's different ways of looking at things for different reasons. Nothing is static. Everything's multi-layered. And from a human point of view, there's always good and bad in everybody. That's why we're called very good. It means we've got a good inclination and an evil inclination. So when it comes to Balak Ben Tzipor, it's very obvious what the evil aspect of that is. But then King David came from him, and then we see in King David also, he didn't get to build the temple because, he was connected to blood. And then we've got the bridegroom of blood. What's this all about? Because Tzipporah was married to the Moshiach of Yod-Heh-Waw, Moshe. There's all kinds of ways of looking at it. King David was not allowed to build the temple because, because he'd spilt so much blood. So there's a connection there. And also he was associated with circumcising, wasn't he? So there's a connection there as well. there's all kinds of mysteries that we can dive into, but basically us humans, we are very good. That means there's always going to be a good aspect to us. There's always going to be an evil. Nobody's completely good, nobody's completely evil when it comes to being human. Balak Ben Tzipor, even though we are remembering Sovereign in Torah is only bad, he obviously became the descendant of King David, and there's a connection to all this. Yet David is the ultimate revelation of the final Moshiach. The highest revelation of all will be Moshiach Ben David. It's incredible. Why? Why this man that is remembered? No, he can't even build the temple because of all the blood that is spilled. It's because he circumcised his heart. It's the ultimate is the circumcised heart, isn't it? You know, and David is associated with, is associated with circumcising, taking the foreskins off people. Okay, just so that you're clear on what I'm trying to say, and so I'm clear as well. This is how it's associated with the foreskins. Bearing in mind, this is for his dowry. You know, we're talking about Tzipporah being the wife of Moshe and things like that. It's all powerfully connected, and also this is his dowry for Michal, and she, according to the sages, she didn't bear children to David, but there will be a resurrection of her, and she will give birth to Moshiach. Okay, so she was from a very elevated spiritual place. It even says, I think she bound the tefillin and things like that. She was very exalted, but she despised him, didn't she? And she couldn't have children. But going back to the foreskin aspect of it, it's connected to Tzipporah, who circumcised her son. And Saul said, "So shall you say to David, the king has no desire in a dowry, but in 100 foreskins of Philistines to avenge himself upon the king's enemies." But Saul thought to make David fall by the hands of the Philistines. And his servants told David these words, and the thing pleased David to become the king's son-in-law, and the days had not expired. And David arose, and he and his men went, and he slew 200 men of the Philistines and brought their foreskins, and they delivered them in full to the king in order to become the king's son-in-law. And the king gave him Michal, his daughter, as a wife. So you've got the life of the ultimate. There's a connection to the ultimate Moshiach Ben David that will be birthed through a resurrected Michal. Okay, it's all quite incredible. It's all quite incredible stuff. Michal, by the way, is a gematria of 100, and it's like the name Michael, but it's got a missing aleph. It's all interesting. Let's go back. Right, so I'm just trying to think on my feet as I'm going through all this. So let's have a look at how Balak Ben Tzipor, and like I said, there's a bit of ambiguity, but this is for our good, because there's nothing is fixed in stone when it comes to the Torah, you know, and we've got to get to that stage where we're able to feel liberated by the words of the Torah, not constricted by it, or imprisoned by it, or restricted by it. And also we're not restricting our understanding of Yod He Waw He. Okay, so bearing in mind, like I said, Moshiach Ben David is the ultimate revelation of the Moshiach. Yet look at his ancestry, look at what he's descended from. Lineage, the rabbis state that Ruth was Orpah's sister as well as her sister-in-law, and both were daughters of King Eglon of Moab. That's from Ruth Rabbah 2:9, who, according to the same midrash, was the son of Balak. The fact transforms them from simple Moabite women to members of the royal family. Then this is from somewhere else. This is all interesting stuff. The simple explanation would be Midrashit Halukot, that the midrash that identifies Balak as Tzur instead of Tzipporah, Tzur, Cosby's father, but this does not mesh with the midrashim that Ruth was descended from both Balak and Eglon. But that's always unacceptable. unsatisfactory. These are comments from Jewish people trying to answer the question, was Balak Ben Tzipor a Moabite or a Midianite? Because there seems to be contradictory information about it in the Talmud and various sources of Midrash. So they're trying to wrestle with this contradiction and trying to conclude what it must mean. So going back to what's written in the Zohar, he's called the son of the bird because of this bird that he consults, okay, that tells him, it's like a form of prophecy, if you like. So like it could be potentially related to the whole concept of the bird, the Horus, one of the gods of Egypt, and the magic associated with that, and how it's connected to Tzipporah. So now we've got this incredible connection that it was actually Cosby's father, the Midianite woman that was speared through by Pinchas, who is Eliyahu Hanavi, according to the sages, who is the prophet that's got to come before the appearance of Moshiach Ben David. What? The plot thickens. It congeals like blood. She was from Moab and her father was the king of Moab. Should be reason enough. So like I say, these are just little excerpts from Jews arguing and trying to fathom out. It's all interesting stuff. Some of it's above my head, but the stuff that the stuff I could understand I picked out because I thought it's worthy of sharing stuff like this to just allow us to think outside the box. Things are as they always appear. We can be so entrenched in the way that we see things that we miss the bigger picture. We've got to liberate ourselves from these small perspectives and try and expand our perspective. And, trying to analyse things like this and going into depth broadens that view, doesn't it? It unshackles us from the restricted view that a restricted exile consciousness imposes on us, and it starts to make Yote Wawi bigger than the interpretation of the Torah that we are fixed with. She was, alright, I've already read that. Midian was the son of Avraham and Keturah, who was supposedly Hagar, after she'd been rectified. And Moab was the son of Lot, Abraham's nephew, so it's all in the family. So basically, they're all from Abraham, one way or another, or Abraham's family. But if they're from Lot, then they're not coming from Abraham. But if they're from Midian, they're directly of Abraham's descent. So even things like that, very interesting. Rashi Bamidbar 22:4 says that Balak was a Midianite, and Gemara Sanhedrin 105, it's 105b, says that he was a direct male line ancestor of Ruth. So again, he was Midianite and Moabite through Ruth. Oh no, it's just saying Midianite here. The Gemara Sanhedrin 405 says he was a direct line ancestor of Ruth, so she would have been a Midianite then. Okay, but that then poses questions for a lot that's come regarding Ruth in the Midrash. Let's go see why. So this is another Jewish person arguing. It's a very very intellectual debates, and they're talking about stuff and sourcing it up for us. And I'm just going to try and go through it and understand it to the best of my own ability. I've probably missed a lot myself. You can go and look further into these and explore these concepts more. I'm just trying to pick out the bones of all this and see how it might be related to what we've got here and what is this actually telling us. It's enriching us in some way. It's even the confusion ultimately is there to enrich us, isn't it? It's there to cause us to wrestle. It's there to cause us to struggle. What is the truth in this situation? Here's my suggestion, no source. It is clear that Ruth was indeed a Moabite through male line ancestry, otherwise there would have been no question as to whether she was allowed to marry Boaz, and the drasha of Emmoni were lo Emmonut, Moavi were lo Moavit. There was a prohibition against Moabites and Ammonites marrying, entering into Klal Yisrael, or the Klal Yote Wawhe here for 10th generation. It says, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter the assembly of the Lord. Even the 10th generation shall never enter the assembly of the Lord. So she was a Moabite. If she was a Moabite, and why would they have had to come up with this statement in order to validate Boaz's marriage to a Moabite? It's because in the actual Torah, the restriction is that a Moabite, an Ammonite or a Moabite shall not come in, and these are in the masculine. So Ammoni is masculine Ammonite, a Moavi is a Moabite male. So there's no restriction in Torah for a Ammonite, which is a female from Ammon, and no restriction from a Moabite. So this wouldn't have been part of the drasha if Ruth had not been a Moabite. Okay, I hope you're with me with that. It's a little bit technical if you're not aware of things like that. However, it is not clear that her ancestry to these kings was through direct male line ancestry. Ruth was not literally the daughter of Eglon, as in Sanhedrin 105, nor the granddaughter of Eglon, as in Nazir 23b. So there are references to Ruth being descended from Eglon in the actual Talmud, and he was the king of Moab. Okay, so Moabite. As such, it does not necessarily follow that the descent either from Ruth to Eglon or from Eglon to Balak, if there was indeed so, was through the male line only. So there's lots of interesting things to consider in all that. Pick the bones out of it, if you will. But I hope you can see that nothing is 100% clarifiable, is it? Even for these Jewish people that spend all their life studying the text, it's not completely obvious what you're dealing with things like this. And yet this is the ancestor of Moshiach Ben David and Ruth. Well, the Midianites were the Moabites, and why would it be a problem either way? So interesting. I just wanted to offer that. It just helps us to break free of the way that our mind works, to try and limit and pigeonhole and compartmentalise reality. We can. There's got to be a little bit of us that allows things to be a little bit up in the air and to hold more than one opinion in at one time. We've got to try and break free from that. This is the only way of looking at things. It definitely isn't. You are going to be enslaved by that very opinion and that very bloody-mindedness. You know, I can be quite a bloody-minded person at times, and it's difficult for me to sometimes let go. Sometimes you've got to let go. You've got to let go to go up. Right, let's have a look at some more. Even interesting how it's connected to Balak Ben Tzipor here. So you've got the bridegroom of blood. It's got a triangular number of 641. This is a very specific number. This is how it's related to King David and all the things that we've been talking about. So we've got this concept, Zeh Shmi Le'olam, my name is hidden. Right, so this is talking about the name of Yotei Wahweh. Le'olam can mean forever. It can also mean hidden, concealment. Okay, and it can also mean world. So we are limited sometimes to one particular world view. This is my name forever. My name is concealed, or this is my name concealed. That's how the sages interpret it, so that they don't pronounce the name Yotei Wahweh based on this statement, Zeh Shmi Le'olam. This is my name for concealment. Because Olam, like I say, means concealment, means to hide. This whole reality hides the truth in the name of Yotei Wahweh. His name is hidden. We have to search it out. So it comes from Exodus 3:15, and God said further to Moshe, so shall you say to the children of Israel, Lord, God of your fathers, God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is how I should be mentioned in every generation. Or this is my name, which is concealed. So it's all interesting stuff, but it's connected to the bridegroom of blood. So what's that telling us? Let go. Let go of what you think you know. You might get rewarded with some other higher knowledge and insight. This, by the way, came up in the teachings on Zeus, because this number here, this is my name forever, is directly related to the gematria for Zeus. If you want to look at that, it's incredible, because Zeus and the whole concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef has dressed up in Greco-Roman foreskin, which we talked about in last lesson. Primarily that is encapsulated the concept of Zeus. He is the concealment of the name of Yoteh-Waweh, the ultimate concealment. So again, we've got Balak Ben Tzipor. We've already got this one association, but Balak Ben Tzipor filled out at the level of Asiyah, Yetzirah, Bariah, and Atzilut, comes to 4 times 100, 1904. So again, a concealment of the name Yoteh-Waweh. The only revelation comes from the concealment. So we've got an opportunity through this concept of Balak Ben Tzipor to reveal the name of Yoteh-Waweh in some way or another. That's going to lead to a revelation of Moshiach Ben David. It's going to ignite that light within us. Okay. Then we've got this, look, Yeshua filled. So 641, this is the regular and the ordinal. Yeshua filled with it, Vav is filled with an Aleph, which is very significant in and of itself if you read the Zohar on that. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So this is again, isn't it? We've got to be very good in this world as we're going to fall down. If we think we're holier than thou, going out into this world and dealing with this reality, you're going to come unstuck. You can't just be harmless as doves. You got to also be wise as serpents. It's essential. So how do we get that? The Mispar Gadol then is 4,487, which is 7 times 641. So connected to all these concepts. This is again connected to the whole concept that we're not just good. Everything else in creation is good. Man is very good. It means that we have also got an evil inclination and a good inclination, and we've got free choice as a consequence. We can utilise that side of our nature that's drawn towards evil for good, and that's what our mission is, to try and utilise that evil energy for good to serve Yoteh-Waweh. We fall short, however, and this is why we've got this, we've got this. Whenever you're looking at it, you can always look at it from 2 different perspectives. We can always see reality from 2 different perspectives. You can always see good, but you can always see negative at the same time. It's just the way that our minds work. It's a reality of life in this earth at this time. And one of the major problems that we've got is deifying the good and demonising the bad. And there's no concept within Judaism as a perfect man. What you find in Christianity. This perfect human being. There is absolutely no Torah basis for that at all. If the soul of the Yechidah, which is Moshiach Ben Yosef, was incarnate within a man, then that man was very good. That means that Yeshua was very good. Okay? And as you can see, associated with the bridegroom of blood, who is Moshiach, Moshe. Directly associated Moshe. Directly associated with a phenomenon that conceals the name of Yoteh-Waweh. Zeus. Balak Ben Tzipor. He was a man. He was just like, he was very good. He had both good inclination and a bad inclination. That's a reality. It don't matter what. We have got the name of Yoteh-Waweh within us. Does this find sole expression through the layers of our through the layers of our flesh? No, it comes out all corrupted. It don't come out in a straight way, if it ever does even come out, if that image ever does find expression. So it's like we're not walking around like Moshe with our faces glowing. Sometimes we look, pretty dark. We're hiding that light within us, but it's still very good. We've got to start to connect to this reality. We've been pushed this concept of this person, this perfect human being that nobody can thoroughly attain. That level of absolute perfection, it's not possible to attain. Why strive for what is not even possible? We need to be aiming for the level of Moshiach Ben David. He's slightly lower than the level of Moshiach Ben Yosef. Moshiach Ben Yosef is the crown and the throne, if you like, of Moshiach Ben David. But the ultimate destination is Moshiach Ben David, even though he's slightly lower and less perfect in a way, because the Yechidah is one with the name of Yotei-Waweh. You're not absolutely one, but one. But once that incarnates into a human being, it doesn't matter, it just becomes very good. The image of Yotei-Waweh in a human being is very good. Yet he's ultimate perfection. So we got to start to get over this prison that is the concept of this perfect man. No such thing. Yotei-Waweh is perfect, not man. We're very good. There's a difference. There's a difference. We should be accepting what we are and who we are, and in a state of continual improvement, but we should also be realistic. As we wouldn't have to, therefore, be wise as servants and harmless as doves. The luminary is spelt defective, so this is marot, which is actually a curse, but that's how it's spelt in the Torah. The luminaries are the sun and the moon. Again, there is connections to the whole concept of the Eye of Horus, I think, even there. But it's a curse. This is actually, this word here, Moroth, spelt like that, is a curse. It's got to include two vavs. Where does it get the vavs from? The vavs represent the truth. It's for us to find that truth. And we have been experiencing it for the 6 days. The 6 days are the 6,000 years that man has got to rectify himself. And the 6,000 is the 6 days, and the 6th letter of the alphabet is the Vav. So we're toiling through these 6,000 years to reveal the truth, and that ultimate truth is Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. Even though Yosef has been garbed up to look a lot like Zeus, we have got to use that power of the name within us to reveal that is hidden beneath all those layers of concealment. So this curse gives us a work to do. We've got to define the luminaries to a certain extent. 641. Okay. Very interesting number. And then we've got this whole concept of chen and graces. We do a lot of work below. We do 999 footsteps of Mashiach below, and there's one footstep come from above, from Yotei-Waweh, and it's grace. By grace, that 1,000th footstep will be revealed, and that 1,000th footstep is Moshiach Ben David. Okay? It's connected. It's connected to Yeshua and everything, Moshe, everything. I found my servant David, 641. And 110 is related to Balak, okay? And it's Moshiach, it's Yeshua HaMoshiach is 110 ordinarily. Where does it, the Zohar says, I found my servant David, where was he found? He was found in Sodom. He was found in Sodom through the daughters of Moab. Okay, so there's that connection there. It's all absolutely wonderful. And the two of them went together, this is Avram and Yitzhak, the binding of the Akedah. 505 is Sarah, by the way, so somehow she was there. 136 is the regular and ordinal of Kisei David, which is the throne of David, which Vilna Gaon said is Moshiach Ben Yosef. V'yelechu shneim yachdav. The two of them went together. Spell backwards Yeshu. This is the curse with which Yeshua is cursed. Yimach Shemo Zikron. Comes to 461. So even in the curse, it's just an opportunity to reveal the perfection of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Not the perfection of a man. This is not ever going to be revealed. What will be revealed, despite man's imperfection and despite the imperfection within creation, is the perfection and the act of perfecting of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh that is hidden in all this, including us primarily. With the clouds of heaven comes to 641, Moshiach dressed in the garments of the clipper, clouds and darkness. Okay, which is concealed. And then this is a big concealment. This is a phrase that's linked to the Anakim, which is one of the Erev Rav, the 5 aspects of the serpent. You've got 5 aspects of the Moshiach: Moshiach Ben Yosef, Moshiach Ben David, Moshe, Yaakov, let me get this right now. Moshiach Ben David, Moshiach Ben Yosef, Moshe, Yaakov, and Rachel, or Sarachbat Afsher. It just depends which way you look at it. You've got 5 aspects of the Erev Rav. You've got the Nephilim, the Gibborim, the Rephaim, the Anakim, and the Amalekim. This is the Anakim. Okay, and it's because the word for necklace is exactly the same as Anakim, and a necklace for your neck. There's very significant numbers in this. This is actually the full total of all the aspects of Mashiach. So we're talking about this is the power to conceal Mashiach. And then this number here is the Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, which is the primary revelation of the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. One of the most significant revelations that Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh is one. And, so we've got that. These are what the power of the Erev Rav can conceal from us. We had the square ordinal together with, this is a square ordinal of both these letters. It comes to 2,564, which is 4 times 641. So we can see again another powerful concealment, but from the concealment comes the revelation. And I'll just bring you this number up for you to have a look at because it's so significant. So bearing in mind this is the power of the evil side to conceal, yet from the concealment comes also the equal revelation. Okay, so these are the rectified spellings of David and Yaakov and David. So when David includes the Yod and Yaakov includes the extra Vav that he gets from Eliyahu Hanavi. So you've got these are the numbers for Moshiach Ben Yosef, Moshiach Ben David, the 5 aspects of the Mashiach, the 5 leaves that surround Knesset Yisrael, the 13 petals rose, the 5 fingers on the cup of blessing, are the 5 aspects of the Mashiach that represent the 5 aspects of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. Moshiach Ben Yosef, Moshiach Ben David, Moshe, Yaakov, and Sarachbat Asher in this case. Sometimes it's Rachel. When it comes to resurrection of the dead, it's Rachel. When it comes to the coming of the Mashiach, it's Rach. I've talked about that before. So if you add them all up, the regular comes to 2,041 for all the aspects of Mashiach. If you then add to it the 2 prophets, primary prophets associated with it, Yonah Hanavi and Eliyahu Hanavi, Yonah Hanavi to reveal Moshiach Ben Yosef, Eliyahu Hanavi to reveal Moshiach Ben David. If you add to that the regular of both those, it comes to 2,300, which is exactly the same as the filling out of and a necklace for your neck. So this is the power of the Erev Rav to conceal. Yet from that concealment comes the revelation. From that concealment comes the revelation. From that concealment of the Erev Rav comes the revelation. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. It's all mystical. It's all wonderful. And with that I will say Shalom.